At my baby shower, my mother-in-law stood in front of 40 guests, lifted a white envelope above her head, and announced that my unborn baby was not her son's child. The room went silent so fast I could hear the ice melting in the punch bowl. I was 7 months pregnant, sitting under a pink and gold balloon arch with a ribbon around my belly, while my husband, Aaron, stood beside the dessert table with his hands in his pockets. His mother smiled like she had just saved the family. She said, "I'm sorry everyone had to find out this way, but my son deserves the truth." Then she pulled out a DNA report. But what she didn't know was that Aaron already had the real test inside his jacket. And he had been waiting all afternoon for her to lie in front of witnesses. My name is Emily Hayes. That Saturday was supposed to be the happiest day before our daughter was born. My best friend Mara had spent 2 weeks planning the shower. The room was pink, gold, and full of people who loved us, which made what Linda was about to do even crueler. My mother-in-law, Linda, moved around the room like she owned it. She adjusted flowers nobody asked her to touch. She corrected the caterer twice. She told my aunt the lemonade was too sweet. She kept checking the double doors at the back of the hall like she was waiting for a police raid. Every time someone congratulated me, Linda smiled with her mouth but not her eyes. Then Mara leaned down beside me and whispered, "She brought a microphone." I looked across the room. Linda was standing near the gift table with a wireless microphone in her hand. My stomach tightened. Not because I didn't know what was coming. Because I knew exactly what was coming. 3 weeks earlier, Aaron and I had received an anonymous text message. It said, "Enjoy the shower while you can. Everyone will know the baby isn't his." Attached was a blurry picture of a DNA report. At first, I thought it was a cruel joke. Then I zoomed in and saw Aaron's name. Aaron Hayes. Alleged father. Probability of paternity, 0%. I remember sitting on the edge of our bed with my phone in my shaking hand. Aaron was brushing his teeth in the bathroom when I called his name. He came out with toothpaste still at the corner of his mouth, smiling until he saw my face. "What happened?" I handed him the phone. He read the message once. Then again. Then his whole expression changed. Not anger first. Shock. Then disgust. Then something colder. He looked at me and said, "I never took a DNA test." That sentence was the first piece of truth. The second came when Mara, who worked as a paralegal, looked at the image and said, "This lab doesn't exist." The report looked official at first glance. It had a logo, a case number, a signature, a stamp, but the lab address was a UPS store in Cincinnati. But that wasn't enough. Because if Linda was willing to fake a DNA report, she was willing to cry in public while waving it around. And people believe paper when it is held by a confident liar. So Aaron made a decision. He said, "We're getting the real test." I didn't want to. Not because I had anything to hide. Because it hurt. It hurt that I had to prove my daughter's right to exist in her own family. It hurt that my pregnancy, my body, my marriage, and my baby were being dragged into a courtroom that nobody had the right to build. Aaron saw it on my face. He sat beside me, took my hand, and said, "Emily, this isn't because I doubt you. This is because I'm going to destroy the lie so completely she can never use it again." 2 days later, we went to a certified lab. I gave blood, Aaron gave a cheek swab, our IDs were verified, and every sample was sealed under chain of custody. 10 days later, the results came back. Aaron was the father. 99.9998%. The lab director also wrote a signed letter confirming that the blurry report Linda was preparing to use was not issued by their company, not connected to any real case number, and not valid. But the real question was not whether Aaron was the father. The real question was who had created the fake report. That answer came from Linda herself. She sent it to the wrong person. 2 nights before the shower, Aaron got an email meant for his mother. It came from a local print shop. The subject line said, Final DNA packet ready for Saturday. Attached was an invoice paid by Linda Hayes. One laminated DNA report. One enlarged copy. One white presentation envelope. One rush design fee. Aaron stared at that invoice for a long time. Then he laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because sometimes pain becomes so ridiculous your body doesn't know what else to do. He printed everything. The fake report screenshot. The invoice. The email header. The lab director's letter. The real DNA results. Then he put them inside a blue folder and said, "Let her have her stage." I asked him why not stop her before the shower. He looked at me and said, "Because if we stop her privately, she'll deny it publicly for the rest of our lives." That was the moment I understood. Aaron was not preparing to defend himself. He was preparing to defend us. On the morning of the shower, I almost canceled. I stood in our bedroom in a soft blue dress, fully ready, but completely exhausted. Our daughter kept pressing her foot under my ribs like she was trying to remind me she was real. I looked in the mirror and suddenly wanted to disappear. I said, "I don't want to sit there while people stare at me." Aaron came up behind me and wrapped both arms around me carefully. He said, "Then don't look at them, look at me." I turned around. He already had the blue folder tucked inside his jacket. I said, "What if she ruins everything?" He kissed my forehead. "She won't, she's going to reveal who she is." When we arrived at the event hall, Linda was already there. She was wearing cream. Not beige. Not pale yellow. Cream. At a baby shower. She had a pearl necklace on and her hair sprayed into place like she was attending a courtroom hearing. The first thing she said to me was, "You look tired." Aaron stepped in immediately. "She looks beautiful." Linda smiled at him. "Oh, I'm sure you think so." That was her way. A compliment with a knife under it. For 3 years, Linda had treated me like a woman who had stolen her son. When we got engaged, when we bought our house, and when we announced the pregnancy, she always found a way to make me feel temporary. We had been married 2 years. But Linda acted like I had trapped him in a parking lot. Her main wound was simple. She believed Aaron belonged to her. Not as a son. As property. She called it protection, but it was ownership. And I was the woman who made Aaron build a life she could not enter without knocking. That was why the baby terrified her. Because our daughter made our marriage permanent in a way Linda could not manipulate. For 1 hour, the party pretended to be normal. Linda smiled, waited, and held that white envelope like a weapon. Then she tapped a fork against her glass. Clink, clink, clink. The room quieted. Aaron's hand moved slightly toward the inside of his jacket. Mara stepped closer to the wall near the light switches. Linda lifted the microphone. "I know this is unusual," she began, "but before we continue celebrating, there is something important this family needs to address." I felt every face turn toward her. Then toward me. Aaron stood still. Linda looked directly at me for the first time all afternoon. Her voice softened. That was the most dangerous part. I have kept quiet for months because I did not want to hurt anyone, but I cannot watch my son be deceived any longer. Someone gasped. My aunt whispered, "What is she doing?" Linda reached into her purse and pulled out the white envelope. The same envelope from the invoice. My baby kicked hard. I placed one hand on my stomach. Linda opened the envelope slowly, like she was performing grief. "This is a DNA test," she said, "and it proves that the child Emily is carrying is not Aaron's." The room broke apart. Not loudly. Worth. Quietly. A chair scraped. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." My face burned. I looked at Aaron. He was already looking at me. Not with doubt. Not with anger at me. With apology. Like he was sorry I had to sit through even 1 second of it. Linda held up the fake report. I know this is painful, she said, but truth is better than humiliation later. That was when Aaron spoke. Mom. Linda turned to him with wet eyes that appeared on command. I'm sorry, honey. Aaron said, don't stop. The room froze again. Linda blinked. What? Aaron stepped forward. If you're going to accuse my wife in front of everyone, finish reading it. Linda's mouth tightened. Aaron, you're in shock. No, he said calmly, I'm listening, read the lab name. Her fingers tightened around the page. The paper trembled just enough for everyone to see. She looked down. This was conducted by Central Family Genetics. Aaron nodded. And where is that lab located? Linda's eyes flicked across the page. Cincinnati. Read the address. Aaron, this isn't necessary. It became necessary when you brought a microphone. Nobody moved. The room was so quiet I could hear the air conditioning humming above us. Linda swallowed. Suite 214, Northbridge Avenue. Aaron looked at Mara. Mara pressed a button on her phone. The projector screen behind the dessert table lit up. On it was a map. The address Linda had just read. A UPS store. Not a lab. Not a clinic. A UPS store between a nail salon and a vape shop. A murmur rolled through the room. Linda's face went pale. Aaron reached into his jacket and pulled out the blue folder. He did not raise his voice. That made it worse for her. He said, now let me show everyone the real one. He opened the folder and took out a sealed lab report. This is a legal prenatal paternity test from an accredited laboratory. Emily gave blood, I gave a cheek swab, our IDs were verified, the samples were sealed under chain of custody. He held up the first page. The result says I am the father of our daughter with a probability of 99.9998%. A sound went through the room. Not shock. Relief. My aunt started crying. Mara closed her eyes. Aaron turned one page. And this is a signed statement from the lab director confirming that the report my mother just read was not issued by them, not connected to any valid case number, and not based on any real sample. Linda's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Aaron looked at her. Mom, where did you get your report? She whispered, someone sent it to me. Aaron nodded slowly. That's interesting. He pulled out another page. Because the print shop sent me your invoice by mistake. Mara clicked again. The projector changed. There it was. Linda Hayes. Paid in full. Final DNA packet ready for Saturday. Laminated report. Presentation envelope. Rush design fee. The room did not explode. It collapsed into silence. That silence was heavier than shouting. Linda stared at the screen like if she looked hard enough, her name would disappear. Aaron's voice stayed calm. You paid someone to make a fake DNA report. You brought it to my daughter's baby shower. You stood in front of our family and friends, and you tried to humiliate my pregnant wife. Linda shook her head. I was protecting you. Aaron's face changed then. For the first time that day, his voice cracked. No, you were punishing her. Linda's eyes filled. She changed you. Aaron stepped closer. No, Mom, she loved me without controlling me. That's what changed me. I felt tears slide down my face. I had promised myself I would not cry. But I was not crying because I was weak. I was crying because someone had finally named the thing I had been carrying for years. Linda looked around the room for help. No one moved toward her. So she turned back to Aaron. I gave up everything for you. Aaron nodded. I know you suffered after Dad died. I know you were lonely. I know you were scared, but you did not get the right to own the rest of my life because yours hurt. Linda flinched like he had slapped her. Then she looked at me. For 1 second, I saw the truth. She hated that I was still sitting there. She hated that I had not run. She hated that my hand was on my belly and Aaron was standing in front of me. She said, Emily has been waiting for this. Look at her, she's enjoying it. I stood up slowly. The room shifted toward me. My knees felt weak, but my voice did not. I looked at Linda and said, I am 7 months pregnant. I came here to celebrate my daughter. You came here to put shame on her before she was even born. Linda whispered, that is not what I did. Yes, I said, it is. Aaron turned toward me, but I kept going. You didn't just accuse me, you accused her. You tried to make the first public story about her life a lie. Linda's face twisted. You have no idea what it feels like to lose a son. I looked at Aaron, then back at her. You didn't lose him because he got married. You lost him because you kept trying to make love feel like debt. No one spoke. That line stayed in the air. Linda lowered the fake report. For the first time, she looked smaller than the room she had tried to control. Then Aaron said the line I will never forget. You were supposed to protect this family from humiliation. Instead, you built the stage for it. Linda's sister, Carol, stood up from the second row. She had been quiet all afternoon. She walked to Linda, took the microphone from her hand and set it on the table. Then she said, Go home, Linda. Linda stared at her. Carol's voice shook. You brought this on yourself. That was when Linda broke. Not with tears. With anger. She pointed at me. You think this makes you safe. You think he won't wake up one day and see what you've done. Aaron stepped between us. Enough. Linda looked at him. He said, You are not welcome at the hospital. You are not welcome in our home, and you will not meet our daughter until you take responsibility for what you did. She whispered, You don't mean that. I do. You would keep my grandchild from me. Aaron's jaw tightened. My daughter is not a reward for hurting her mother. That was the moment the room turned completely. Not because of the DNA test. Not because of the invoice. Because everyone finally understood that Linda had not made one mistake. She had made a plan. A plan with paper. A plan with timing. A plan with witnesses. A plan designed to make me small while I was too pregnant to run from the room with dignity. And Aaron had ended it. Linda grabbed her purse. No one helped her. No one followed her. At the door, she turned back once. I thought she might apologize. Instead, she said, Someday you'll understand. Aaron answered, I already do. Then she left. For almost 10 seconds, nobody moved. The balloon arch still floated over my chair. The cupcakes were still arranged in perfect circles. The banner still said, Welcome, baby girl. But the room felt like it had survived a storm. Mara was the first person to move. She walked over, took my hand, and said loudly, We are not letting that woman be the last memory of this day. Slowly, the room came back to life. Someone turned off the projector, someone moved the fake report away, and for the first time that day, I could breathe. Aaron knelt in front of me. In front of everyone. He placed both hands gently on my belly and said, I'm sorry. I shook my head. You didn't do it. He looked up at me. But I brought you into a family where she thought this was possible. I touched his face. No, you brought me into a marriage where you stood up. He cried then. Quietly. Just once. Then he pressed his forehead against my stomach. The baby kicked him. The whole room laughed through tears. That tiny kick changed everything. It reminded us why we were there. Not for Linda. Not for proof. Not for gossip. For our daughter. Mara picked up the advice card basket and said, "New rule. Everyone writes one sentence this baby should know about love." At first, people hesitated. Then they started writing. My aunt wrote, "Love does not require you to disappear." Aaron's coworker wrote, "Real family tells the truth when lies are easier." Mara wrote, "Be loud when someone tries to make you ashamed." Aaron wrote his card last. He did not show it to me then. He folded it and placed it in the basket. We finished the shower. Not the way we planned, but maybe in a way that mattered more. We cut the cake, we opened gifts, people hugged me longer than usual. Nobody treated me like a scandal, they treated me like someone who had survived. At the end of the afternoon, Aaron and I stood alone under the balloon arch. The cake was half gone, the room was quiet, and the fake report was sealed in Mara's bag. Aaron said, "Are you okay?" I thought about lying. Then I said, "No, but I will be." He nodded. That was one of the reasons I loved him. He did not rush to fix feelings just because they made him uncomfortable. He took my hand and said, "Then we'll be not okay together until we are." That night we went home with a car full of baby gifts and the blue folder. I placed the real DNA report on the kitchen table and stared at it. Aaron came in carrying 2 cups of tea. He saw what I was looking at. He said, "We don't have to keep it." I touched the edge of the paper. "This saved us." "No," he said, "the truth saved us. That paper just made people listen." He was right. Still, I put it in a box. Not because my daughter would ever need proof of who her father was, but because one day, if she ever asked why we had boundaries, I wanted to tell her the truth without making it sound like a fairy tale. 6 weeks later, our daughter was born. We named her Lily. When the nurse placed her on my chest, the baby shower, the fake report, Linda's face, and that white envelope all moved to the edge of my life. Lily came into this world warm, loud, and already defended. A year later, I found the advice card Aaron had written at the shower. It said, "Love is not proven by how much someone can hurt you and still stay. Love is proven by who protects your peace when you cannot protect it yourself." That is the story I will tell Lily one day, not that her grandmother lied, not that people gasped, but that before she was even born, her father stood up with the truth and her mother did not disappear. Linda came to my baby shower to expose me. Instead, she exposed herself.